All right. It's time for your YouTube exclusive Raw review brought to you by the Wrestle Plug. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification so that you can get, hit the bell icon, should I say, so you can get notifications on whatever we are bringing out in the future. And believe me, there's a lot of content to come. And don't forget to check out our Wrestlemania exclusive reviews that are available via YouTube and, of course, wherever you get your podcast too. Look for the black and yellow brand. Make sure you subscribe. And, of course, check us out at Wrestle Plug across all social media platforms. I'm Aeron. Joining me to discuss Raw this week is Kyle Wilkinson. Welcome back, son.
Oh, thanks for having me there, boss. You know, it was usually the Raw after Mania is amazing because we still have the crowd from the night before. They've been there all week. They're fucking so tired, but still have a lot of energy for this. It was definitely something different that we've been used to in the past few years.
I have to give him a little bit of credit. This Raw was chock full of original and fresh content, and all the recaps they gave us were just very brief little still image and highlight packages. There was no full replays. I thought we were going to get a full replay of the Boneyard match, and to be honest, I would have been all right with that. And ultimately, we got a very stacked show in terms of in-ring action, and I can't really complain about that. That being said, I would have liked a little bit more entertainment bang for my buck, simply because it's a Raw after Mania. Now, Raw after Mania is always chock full of surprises. This one had some surprises, but they weren't surprises we wanted. So, you know, there was good wrestling throughout. This is something we should be able to breeze through pretty quickly. The first hour was essentially the Street Profits hour. We got what was essentially 3 different matches, all involving the same 6 people in some form or fashion. Street Profits and a tag team title rematch. That was, of course, interfered with by Zelina Vega. Then Bianca Belair came out to get her some of Zelina Vega in a singles match. And then once that was dealt with, Bianca Belair went to get some more in the form of a fucking 6-person intergender tag team match. And it was fine, but I think this was the story of Raw, really, wasn't it? They went for a really heavy athletic style of content, and it's really ironic because WWE fans, whenever they argue with me about why WWE is the best, they always say because WWE is not just about wrestling, it's about entertainment. They entertain you, and I love storylines, and I love promos. We didn't really get any of that tonight. All we got was a lot of wrestling, and that doesn't bother me, not at all, but we got a lot of wrestling, but we didn't get the best wrestling. So for me, I'm sitting here thinking, right, I don't really tune into WWE just to see good wrestling. I tune into WWE because I want to be entertained. And I don't want to sound like a miserable old man, but I do feel like I wasn't entertained that much tonight. I was just given good wrestling. And for me, a lot of them went on too long. And it really annoys me as well because people screamed to the high heavens last night about Edge and Orton taking too long. But then when they got Aleister Black versus Apollo Crews, that felt like 30 plus minutes. And I wouldn't be surprised if it certainly went that far. It had quite a few commercial breaks in it as well. And all of a sudden people are screaming that it's this incredible match. Well, it's not in keeping with storylines either because Bobby Lashley is an absolute destroyer, apparently. He is basically the evolved Pokemon version of Apollo Crews, and yet he was dispatched in 8.5 minutes, but Apollo Crews took damn near 40 minutes to be dispatched by Aleister Black. Doesn't really make sense. You could have showcased him absolutely fine without giving us a match that long. There's nothing wrong with the match, but ultimately, for your WrestleMania blow-off, your Raw after WrestleMania, I did want a little bit more bang for my buck. Obviously, I have to temper my opinions because of COVID-19, but hey, that didn't stop them giving us something truly special last night, so there's no reason why we couldn't have got just a little bit of extra flavour, a little bit of stank on it, and I don't feel like we got that tonight.
Yeah, like you said, the match was fine, and I'm of the opinion, yeah, it definitely lasted too long. Again, nothing wrong with it, but why can Apollo Crews last longer than Bobby Lashley? Haha, phrasing. That doesn't make any sort of storyline sense to me. Lashley's they tried to portray him as this like fucking just a huge badass that can just take down anyone and everyone, and he lost in. Not only did he lose in 8 minutes, but it was, you know, pretty convincing. And then we get this, and it lasted for 20 hours. It just dragged and dragged. Just like the first hour. The first hour also dragged on. And then, we got a few recaps over what happened on WrestleMania. That's fine. But entertainment-wise, honestly, pretty lackluster.
Yeah, we got a return on Ajax, which I'm happy to see, but she squashed Deonna Purrazzo, who, at this point, I'm wondering whether she's done something nefarious to upset somebody, because that poor woman seems to be getting the short end of a lot of things, and she is an extremely talented individual. Nia Jax, the only real point of her returning is, of course, that will trigger a load of Becky Lynch marks, and I immediately saw ignorant, stupid basement-dwelling pricks on Twitter saying, all she does is injure people, etc., etc. It's like, well, I've seen Seth Rollins in multiple matches where people have been injured and nobody seems to be screaming at him. I love how people who haven't taken a bump in their lives want to dictate to other people who have, whether they're unsafe or not. It does make me laugh so much, but that is unfortunately the nature of social media, and I'm not going to give those people much more of my time. I didn't dislike Raw at all. I enjoyed what I saw. I think Montez Ford was definitely one of the MVPs of this show. Once again, I think he's ready to be a superstar. I did mention to you the large amount of African-American talent which was on this show. When I pointed that out with a bit of a joke on Twitter, I was met with a large amount of white privilege and angry people listing people going, oh, all these black wrestlers were at WrestleMania, so you're fucking stupid. And I'm just like, that's not the point. My point is that there is an astonishing amount of African-American talent that isn't used in WWE, and I don't think that's really up for debate unless, of course, you're unbelievably insecure about your own skin colour. So it is what it is, white privilege at its finest. But the biggest surprise for me from this Raw was the fact that Drew McIntyre was... So the main event of Raw was not from Raw at all, which was quite amusing. The main event of Raw was the follow-up to the main event of WrestleMania. Maybe this is why Drew McIntyre brought this only went 5 minutes, because apparently straight after that, and I put that in big quotation marks, the Big Show made his return and made his, I believe this to be his 37th heel turn in the last 3 years. I have to check the numbers on that. But fresh off of his brand new Netflix TV series, not for me, I'm afraid.
It's going to be great, you know it.
It's not going to be fucking great, because, do you know why? Because it's geared for kids. So I imagine a load of you hot, sweaty marks who are 12 years old, who still think Twitter is the greatest thing and the be-all and end-all, are going to have a great time with it. But Aaron Cornette over here isn't interested in your shitty Netflix TV series. If it even gets close to Tiger King, I'll happily come on YouTube and give you a public apology. But until that point, you can suckle on the dongle, because there is no way I am going to sit down and watch that fucking crap. Not a chance. And ultimately, don't sit there and tell me that this was anything more than just a cheeky ploy to remind people of the fact. I'm surprised, actually, that they didn't mention it, but that was because Byron Saxton, the only black man who is trying to culturally appropriate white people, was too busy absolutely screaming his nut off like the mark he is. Byron Saxton is kind of brilliant and kind of shit, because he's terrible, but he is the perfect representation of all the whingy little twats on social media who can't handle it when they don't get everything their way, and he's just great like that. He's just, this isn't fair at all. He really is the mark to end all marks. But yeah, luckily Drew McIntyre retained his WWE title. However, I'll let you sort of get into it a little bit more. I did find it a bit stupid. The Big Show came out, said in his promo that, it's not about the WWE title, I just want to fight you. And then immediately as the bell rang, we were told this was a WWE title match, with no real build or no real justification as to why, other than what I'm assuming is the referee was so intimidated by the Big Show that he was happy to claim it as a title match, even though you would have need clarification from a senior official. Doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. Apparently anyone can make title matches now. Good stuff. Kevin Owens apparently just demanded a rematch on the fly, so it is what it is. But the continuity is what annoys me the most from this show.
And it's made worse by the fact that this was all pre-recorded. And they still, like, sent this out there. They're like, you know what? Yeah, this is fine. No, Show came out. He's like, yeah, congratulations, blah, blah. I just want to fight you now. It doesn't even have to be for the title. And then Drew's like, I'm not going to fight you. I just beat Brock Lesnar. Nothing you can say will make me fight you. So Show slaps him in the face. And, you know, Irishmen have a hot temper. That's fine. Irish, Jesus Christ.
So does Scotsman.
Oh my
you're gonna
God.
get it for that. Oh,
no.
boy, I cannot wait till
Oh,
half of Europe
no.
en masse arrives on Canadian
No.
shores.
I am so
mate,
sorry.
There's going to be a Norse invasion. All the
Oh.
Scottish people right now. You fucking bastard. You fucking call me Irish. I mean, to be fair, they do
deserve
get on
it.
quite well. There's a lot of Celtic crossover and Gaelic pride there, but dangerous territory you just swam into.
I know. I deserve anything that's coming to me, and I humbly apologize and accept the consequences for my dirty actions.
I, for one, support our new Scottish overlords.
Hey, we got 5 champions in WWE right now, and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love them all
Scottish
so
invasion,
much. It's way better than the British invasion in the 1960s.
That's absolutely fair. Absolutely fair. Let's not get into that.
No, that's for another. That's for another.
When we want our maple syrup back, we're coming for you, Canada.
So yeah, Drew McIntyre and Big Show. None of us for a second thought Big Show was going to win, and if any of you listening do, are you broken? Did you fall out of the crib as a young child? Is there something wrong with you that you'd like to talk about?
This podcast. I mean, half of our hosts fell out of the fucking crib as a child, so I mean, there's probably a good chance that at least a few of our listeners have and all.
I didn't fall, baby. I jumped. I was going. That's what I knew.
I bombed out of my crib, bruv.
I just knew I was going to be Jeff Hardy one day.
That was the only time I was light enough to perform a Swanton Bomb. Has been downhill since then.
I know that feeling, bro. But yeah, you know, there's a Claymore that I think Show sold very well. That's something we were talking about when we were watching it. We're like, I wonder how Show's going to take a Claymore. He took it all right. You know, he didn't take it like, you know, a Ricochet or a Cedric Alexander, but that's because that's impossible. If the Big Show can do a standing moonsault after he gets kicked in the face.
That's a bit of an ask, isn't it? Just doing a shooting star. Amazing.
If he does that, I'm putting him in like my top 10 because, I mean, fuck. But,
right, I am.
You know, it was what it was. It was a nice surprise, I guess. And, you know, Drew already has a successful title defense, and whether we like it or not, the Big Show is an established star. He's been around for 4 decades now. Don't you forget it, because he came in at the end of one. 1999 he was in WWE, and he's like, I've been here for 4 decades now. Maybe he's been wrestling for 4. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Point is, Drew won by kicking him in the mouth. That was it. Your main event of Raw was something that didn't even happen on Raw. Cool.
My fantasy booking. What happened to it? I wanted Edge to come out and challenge Drew McIntyre at Money in the Bank, or say that I was going to get to you one way or another, Drew, and I'll see you down the road, and maybe he would have won Money in the Bank again. The ultimate opportunist returns for one more bite of the cherry, but alas, I got Big Show's 37th heel turn, and it has been 84 years later. I don't really have much else to discuss about this Raw. Anything else you wanted to touch on quickly, other than the fact that Angel Garza is shit hot?
No, I mean, yeah, he's pretty fantastic. I think they can definitely appeal a lot to, you know, the Latino crowd. Hopefully that works out for them. But for the most part, this Raw was just kind of... It was a little disappointing, honestly, just because of... Yeah, I'd have to give it, like, 2 stars, maybe. That's being generous.
Yeah, I get a feeling we're going to get a bit of stick for that as well, because people are on Twitter right now, especially people that follow us and listen to us and subscribe, and we're obviously incredibly grateful for that, all jokes aside. But yeah, I get the impression a lot of people enjoyed this Raw. They really appreciated the long matches, and I like long wrestling matches, but I think I'll leave it with this point. This will be my hot take for this YouTube video, and that is that long matches should be reserved for the better and bigger superstars. And it seems to be the case in WWE that role has been reversed. Because if you look at Universal and WWE title matches, 2 minutes 20, 4 minutes 30, go fuck yourselves. That's all the money you're getting out of us. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that people like Apollo Crews and Aleister Black should be going 30, 40 minutes. I really don't. And the reality is that as good as Apollo Crews' performance was, we're all going to forget about that motherfucker again in 2 months, because as great as he is as an athlete, he's got the charisma of a walnut. I'm sorry, but he has. Ooh-ha Nation, this is not.
Yeah, and that's the worst thing. Like, we all know he's a fantastic wrestler, but that's not enough anymore. You do need to be an entertainer, and I don't need big muscly man that smiles. We have too many of those. So just, well, yeah, true enough. Just, I'm not interested. Like Aleister Black gets another win, sure, that's cool, I guess. But it's not like it's gonna mean anything in the long run. This was just filler, but it was decent enough filler, I guess.
I should end actually on a high note because I want to. Liv Morgan versus Asuka was the opener of the show and was also for me the best match of the night. It was excellent. It was competitive, and once again, I am proved correct about Asuka. I consistently scream about how she is one of the best workers in the world, probably the best worker in his company. She is the Daniel Bryan of the women's division, so to speak. She's the one that you can rely on to get everybody over. She has great matches with everyone, and she made Liv Morgan look like $1 million while winning. And that, for me, ladies and gentlemen, is what a star wrestler is all about. If you are one of the best in the world, you make everybody look good, irregardless of whether you win or lose. And Asuka does that every time. Asuka has got the best matches out of Becky Lynch. Asuka has got the best matches out of Sasha Banks. Asuka has got the best matches out of Charlotte Flair by a country margin. Asuka, for me, has had the best women's match in WWE in modern history in that match with Charlotte Flair that she had at WrestleMania 34. Ultimately, Asuka works, and Asuka works well, and she went out there and she put in a shift for Liv Morgan, and she also helped design, I have no doubt, a match which helped in the long run to almost authenticize the brilliance that is Liv Morgan. I think Liv Morgan is somebody that we're going to be seeing a lot more of in the future. And when we do, I am going to look back at this Raw after Mania and say this right here, along with a reasonably good and, excellent win at the pre-show of WrestleMania last night. I'm going to look back at this weekend overall and say that this was the launching platform. This is where they started doing the real work to make Liv Morgan look like the star that she potentially deserves to be.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, losing to Asuka, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that because it's fucking Asuka. The match was amazingly competitive, which was something I was really happy to see. And I think Liv put in a damn good shift, and Asuka made her look like $1 million. So I'd love to see Liv getting a bit more of a push, and I'm actually really excited for her. And not just because she's extremely attractive.
Yes, she is. That'll do for the Raw. That'll do, Raw. That'll do. Raw is wrapped up once again for another week. Let us know if you liked it. Let us know what your thoughts are on Raw. Do you like seeing 30, 40-minute matches like we saw with Aleister Black and Apollo Crews? There's nothing wrong with that. Everyone's entitled to an opinion, and even we can be civil at the best of times. So whatever your opinions are, maybe you enjoyed seeing the Big Show come back. Maybe you're excited about watching the Big Show on Netflix. I'm not. Maybe you are. There is something for everybody, I assure you. But if you have any opinions whatsoever, leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to check out the actual podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're available on Spotify. We're available on Apple, Podbean, TuneIn. We're available across the board for you. And of course, at Wrestle Plug across all social media platforms. Wrestle Plug is alive and well everywhere and churning out regular content every single day. Please, please, please look out for our next big YouTube video drop, which will be a thorough and animated review of the Boneyard match from night one of WrestleMania between AJ Styles and The Undertaker. Myself, Kyle Wilkinson, of course, Jeremy Miller, good old Jay. We took the soundbite from our latest podcast and created a nice, fun, animated video for you guys, something to help entertain you and pass the time in difficult times. From myself and Carl Wilkinson, thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to wash your hands.